Hello and welcome back to Grilling is My Business. I'm Pat Gessner. This is a cooking show for people who really like heavy metal and cooking, but aren't particularly good at the second one, but really like the first one, especially while they're cooking. Tagline to be fixed later. I am really looking forward to this week's show, especially because I'm a huge fan of Cajun food. I've never been to New Orleans, and I've never been to France, but god damn it, I love the food so much. Every Cajun restaurant I've ever been to, I've always had to try their jambalaya, their crawfish. At one place that I actually used to go to in college, they used to serve crocodile burgers. And I had it, and it's not bad. It tastes like chicken. But if there is one thing that I've always loved above everything else, it is a good Cajun Gumbo. And that's what we're going to make today. I've never actually tried to make anything not necessarily this complex, but with this many ingredients at once, which is why I wanted to kind of take the easy way out, and I went on Amazon and I bought myself a Crockpot. So a lot of this is going to be just prepping and then throwing everything in and hoping it works. So we're going to get to that in a second, but first it is time for the ingredients. In order to make chicken and shrimp gumbo, you are going to need the following. Chicken, a pound of shrimp, these 3 spices, 2 cans of tomatoes, chicken broth, andouille sausage if you want, it's not really necessary, garlic, pepper, and an onion. So like I said, a lot of this is just going to be prep work, and then it's going to be me throwing stuff in a pot. So while I'm prepping, I'll be talking about the playlist for this week. And since we are making a staple of Cajun, New Orleans style cooking, we are going to be playing nothing but bands from Louisiana. So we're going to get started right now with a little bit of Crowbar. Yeah, Crowbar is one of those bands that I've always loved every time I've listened to them, but have not devoted a lot of time to kind of like exploring their discographies. That being said, I do appreciate a lot about this band. Kirk Weinstein's songwriting and just the way that he composes riffs is really incredible, especially in the early stuff that Crowbar put out. I like the later stuff too, but again, that's only because I got into them later in life. I didn't have anybody kind of showing me Crowbar when I was first getting into heavy metal. But I kind of wish they did, because there's so many great songs in Crowbar's earlier catalog. Plants Collide is still the best in my opinion though. Every single recipe that you do for Cajun food involves something that's referred to as the Holy Trinity. The Holy Trinity is the pepper, onion, and celery. I forgot to mention, you're also going to need some celery on this. You only need about 2 stalks, but I recommend getting a whole bunch, because while you're making celery, you can't understand it, a lot of it just seems to disappear. While I'm cutting this stuff up, let's talk about another band. How about X-Order? Just like a stab through the heart. The world keeps killing you. X-Order is like well known as one of the most influential bands of all time. They're pretty much where Pantera got all of their ideas that weren't hair metal based. And I liked a lot of their stuff. I think Slaughter in the Vatican is a pretty good album. But again, like, they're a band that's like incredibly influential that I only listen to every now and then. One thing that I would say about them though is that every time that they've put out something recently, I really enjoyed it. They put out an album last year that kind of went under the radar, and this is definitely my favorite track from it. There's so many good moments in this, but most of all, I love that, like, X-Order was always really good, but their production never allowed you to really enjoy the whole thing because it was never clean enough. You never really got a good representation of their sound aside from the aggression. This one, however, you can hear every instrument completely clear. The vocals sound fantastic. I am sure they've gone through a ton of lineup changes over the years. However, I just don't really know enough about them to go into detail on that. I will say, however, that I really enjoyed everything about them, and I really do want to keep hearing them put out new music. I know that the next one should definitely have a little bit more attention paid to it. So that's all the vegetables chopped and ready to go, and a relatively clean area. Don't zoom back, don't zoom back. Ah, you son of a bitch. All that's left to do is cut the chicken, so let's put on some I Hate God and get this taken care of. They tell you to use chicken thighs because it makes it a little bit easier to cook with. I think that dark meat just tastes better in general, and also gives you a little bit more flavor, you know, drumsticks, that sort of thing. So I'm not complaining about this at all. As for the music, I Hate God. You can't talk about music from New Orleans without talking about I Hate God, because they put so much aggression into their sound. They really kind of have their own element in the sludge metal scene, mostly because they just didn't really care about production. They wanted to get that aggression out there, and that's kind of one of the things that I appreciate about them more than anything else. One thing that I would say about them is that they can range between, like, I absolutely love this song and I just can't get into this, but I think that's just a matter of taste on me. $3 Bag, on one hand, though, is a really good song, and it kind of encompasses everything that's good and bad about the band all in once, but I think it's probably their best song. So I've chopped everything, made everything into a nice pile, and I have not cut myself. So already I'm ahead of where I thought I would be in this preparation process. So really all that's left is just taking all of this food and just putting it into the pot. Literally everything except for the shrimp is gonna go in the pot right now. The broth, the tomatoes, all the vegetables I cut up, the chicken, and all the spices. Alright, the crock pot is on. It's doing its thing, which means that we can do nothing now except wait for that to cook for a while. And so that means that we've got 6 hours to kill. Time killing montage. Okay, I'm going to attack recklessly. Great Weapons Master, so it's -5 on the roll with my Great Axe.
Gotcha.
And that is 2 natural ones. Damn it!
You go to swing with your great axe to the goblin, but you feel a sharp pain in the middle of your 2 butt cheeks, and you realize the head of your axe is lodged in your ass.
Why the f*** do I play this game? Alright, that must have killed at least some time here. So, now I can kind of get ready. How long has it been? An hour and a half.
3 hours later.
So the recipe calls for me to cook this for 6 hours, but I'm going to add something at the 4-hour mark. I'm going to add some andouille sausage. And the reason why I didn't put this in at the beginning is because the sausage I got is pre-cooked. It's chicken sausage, the stuff you get in packages. And yeah, it's completely easy to eat. You want to start cook. That being said, it does kind of add a little bit more of a spicy flavor to it, and also kind of makes it closer to a jambalaya taste. The big difference between jambalaya and gumbo is that gumbo is a stew or soup that you actually serve on top of rice. In a jambalaya, you would cook the rice in with the stew. I'm just going to add this right now and mix it in, and we're going to keep that covered for another 2 hours. Well, since we're still killing time, might as well talk about another band, so let's mention the one band I don't think anybody would associate with Louisiana metal. I Wrestled a Bear Once is weird, and people don't like them because they're way too weird, which is the reason why I really enjoy them. I love bands that are kind of off-kilter. I love stuff like Polka Dot Cadaver and Dog Fashion Disco. Some bands that like combine genres, even if it's just throwing them half-assly at each other, throwing crap at the wall and seeing what sticks. I Wrestled a Bear Once sounds like, at least for the first couple albums, like they were constantly experimenting and just getting new sounds into it. And some of their stuff sounds really, really good. And this song especially, a lot of their stuff just has like sections where they throw in like the horn from Dukes of Hazzard for no reason, or a disco break for no apparent reason. This song, however, ends with this amazing drop into a choir segment that I think is one of the best additions to a song I've heard in a really long time. A lot of their stuff gets overlooked, especially because everybody just associates them as being weird and stupid just for the hell of it. But there's really some gems if you listen to their albums, especially Ruining It for Everybody.
2 hours later.
Alright, so the last thing that you have to add into this, at the 6-hour mark when it's cooking, is the shrimp. Shrimp takes very little time to cook, and you're just going to want to make sure that it is completely thawed out, that they're nice and sloppy, like shrimp normally is. I put mine in a strainer just to kind of get any extra juices out. Just take a second to admire how really beautiful that looks already. But now we're just going to add the shrimp in here. And you're just going to use a wooden spoon to kind of stir everything together. When you cook it, you're going to want to keep the shrimp tails on, because that's actually where a lot of the seafood flavor comes from. So you just keep that as you're cooking. And the shrimp, obviously, is going to take very little time to cook. You can tell already that it is already starting to turn. So we are just going to leave this covered for a couple of minutes. You know, it's kind of good that shrimp takes so little time to cook, because I can kind of use it as a timer for when I'm talking, because I might ramble on this a bit, because the last song that you should put on here is from a band that absolutely needs to be mentioned in not only the best bands to come out of Louisiana, but the best bands to come out of the South, period. Holy crap, I did it. I think the combination of sounds works so amazingly well, because you have all of the sludge metal influences from Crowbar and I Hate God, but you also have Phil Anselmo still at his peak, doing amazing vocals for this band. This is a supergroup unlike any other Southern supergroup that really came together and created something special. Down's first album, NOLA, I think is one of the most perfect heavy metal albums, front to back to front. Every single track on here is absolutely amazing. Picking one song for this was very hard, and not just from this album, but also some stuff off of Down 2, arguably the album that killed Pantera. You've got so many songs like Ghost Along the Mississippi, Stained Glass Cross, all that have this great representation of Louisiana sound, but I think there's no better sound in their catalog than the tone from Stone the Crow. Holy crap, it's done already. Here, take a look. So just lifting up the pot right now, you can tell the shrimp is already cooked, which means that this gumbo is ready to go. We're going to put this on warm and turn it off the heat, and we're going to wait for it to cool down a little bit, and then we are going to dig into this as soon as we put it over some rice. I forgot to make the rice. Give me 90 seconds. Ladies and gentlemen, the completed chicken, sausage, and shrimp gumbo. This is my first time ever making this. I am very happy with how it looks. So now the big test is going to be, how does it taste? So I'm going to try and get a big piece here with a little bit of everything in it and see how it came out. Here we go. That is fantastic. The spices of everything mixed together. My favorite thing about Cajun food is how you have so many powerful flavors at once. You have peppers, you have spice, you have all these different flavored meats. You've got seafood, you've got pork and chicken. All of them coming together to make something absolutely amazing. And I would say the weakest part of this is the rice, and that's only because it took me a minute to make it in the microwave. So I am very happy with how this comes out, and I'm going to print the recipe for this in the description if you want to try it by yourself. I highly recommend it. This did not take a lot of effort aside from the preparation, and also it was relatively cheap to do. The shrimp was the most expensive thing, but even with all the specific ingredients that you need for this, even by getting chicken thighs, you do need to spend a little bit, but it's definitely, like, it serves up to 4 or 5 people, and it's less than $30. So it's definitely worth the price. It's definitely worth the wait that you have to make in order to make this. So I'm going to go enjoy the hell out of the rest of this. In the meantime, thank you guys for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed yourself. If you like this, check out all the other videos we have on the channel. If you like heavy metal, we have a whole bunch of lists and reviews and podcasts dedicated to it. And if you like cooking, we're going to do a lot more of these, because I got a feeling I'm going to be home cooking for quite some time. So next time I'm going to try something that I know for a fact I've made before and is not nearly as complicated. It'll probably just be me throwing a piece of meat on the grill. Until then, thank you guys for watching, and remember, grilling is my business, and business is food.